All right, it is a controversial topic that just won't go away, the I-77 toll lanes. A new report released this week by the North Carolina auditor shows taxpayers could pay up to $231 million if the company contracted to build and operate the toll lanes defaulted on its investment. Now, right now, both the House and Senate working to see if canceling the lanes is possible. Bills in the House and Senate are different, though, so keep that in mind. So there'd have to be some sort of compromise between the two. Gentlemen, where do things stand on this right now?
There was some language in the budget to address I-77 to a degree. When there was another bill that came across the House, and Representative Bradford put some language in there to address it further. When it came back from the Senate, there was an amendment that would have. My concern was if we canceled the contract, we'd take all the money from all of Mecklenburg County to fund canceling the contract. I didn't want to see all the projects in my district go away just to cancel a contract.
Feels like this is something that everyone basically agrees on. This is a contract that never should have been signed. We're trying to extricate ourselves from it. That's going to be painful and expensive, and we haven't figured out how to dole out the pain and the expense yet.
Yeah, it looks back, it seems like a lot of people are like, well, how did this happen in the first place? A lot of people feel like. All right, I want to talk real quick. Representative Stone, you're actually working on a financial protection legislation for assisted living facilities. The bill would appropriate $90,000 in funds to DHHS for regulation for additional staff positions to enforce statutory protections in adult care home residents. A bill you introduced would also only allow a physician to sign off on a discharge for a patient. Current law allows for both physician or physician assistant or even practitioner to sign off. What's this bill about? Well,
this is the Assisted Seniors Financial Protection Act, and we heard from a lot of our constituents. It's a growing population of seniors in our area. But what we got to this week, we actually struck a resolution with the industry because they essentially admitted that the rates that they've been charging, or the costs they've been charging to seniors at some facilities, not all, at assisted living facilities, have been going up unwarranted, without notice, and that wasn't the spirit of the law. So we struck a deal with the industry. They're going to work with their facilities over the next several months and work with the Medical Care Commission, DHHS, and us to try to tighten up those rules, to try to make sure we've got financial protections for seniors.
Now I want to touch on another story we've been talking about for years now, the back and forth on redistricting of North Carolina's districts. Now a decision from the Supreme Court could open the doors for our case here in North Carolina. Last week, the Supreme Court sidestepped potentially historic ruling that would have stopped states from drawing election maps intended to help one political party over the other. The justice found procedural faults, though, with the challenges brought by Democratic voters in Wisconsin and Republicans in Maryland. However, as you probably know, this has already been a big issue for us in North Carolina for years. A third case from North Carolina could reach the court next term, possibly. Jeff Jackson, you have been one of the most outspoken opponents of gerrymandering.
Gerrymandering is the root of all political evil in North Carolina. My party failed this moral test for a long time. The Republicans are failing it worse than we did, which is amazing, but they've got computers and software. They can be more precise with their gimmicks than we were. What happened was the procedural faults that existed with the Wisconsin case and the Maryland case at the Supreme don't exist in the North Carolina case, because the procedural fault was they were arguing about how the entire state was gerrymandered, and the court said we want to hear data on district by district, which is what the North Carolina case does. So we're still optimistic. If this court case comes down in a favorable way, it will reshape politics, not just in North Carolina, but across the country. It's a generational case. It'll be the biggest case so far this century.
I always say gerrymandering is the least sexy topic you can talk about, but perhaps the most important when it comes to our elections and the way we vote. All right, more Flashpoint after this.